All right, so we talked about presidential pardons, but let's talk about presidential pardons through the eyes of Representative Bennie Thompson. Representative Bennie Thompson is the former chair of the House January 6th committee. He says he'll accept a preemptive pardon from President Biden out of concern that President-elect Trump might target him. It is rumored that the president is considering these pardons in response to fears that Trump will exact revenge on his political opponents. Thompson led the investigation into Trump's involvement in the January 6th insurrection. In a recent Meet the Press interview, Trump said that members of the January 6th committee, quote, should go to jail. All right, Rebecca, let's break this down a little bit. Certainly this is something that is worth considering. If I were the representative, I would believe that this was going to be happening because the president-elect said as much. I don't think he has another choice.
Yes, and I would say not just extend this pardon to the congressman, but also his staff.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't just the congressman who was leading the January 6th hearings, but it was also a lot of staff that worked many hours. And those staff also have to be protected because we have someone that's coming into office who campaigned punishing his political enemies. And so, yes, you know, I think that that's something that absolutely the president should do. And there shouldn't be any question. Anyone who stood up for democracy in such a powerful way should, you know, have some immunity, especially in the face of someone who has proven to be extremely anti-democratic.
But Matt, let's look at the specifics of this. Could this really happen? I mean, to go through this process, become president, do all the things that you're supposed to put into place, especially what he has promised on the first day and the second day. Is this really something that's feasible in terms of going through the court system, bringing all of his enemies up on charges, and really thinking that this is going to come into fruition?
I mean, unfortunately, I would say it's possible, particularly if you have a weaponized FBI and DOJ who are given the task to basically be legal stormtroopers and go out and get the people that are your enemies. But it's interesting because you didn't ask me the question I thought you were going to ask that I don't know the answer to, frankly, is whether you can get a prophylactic pardon. That to me seems to be the bigger issue here, really a question of ripeness, right? Because if you look at a pardon or commutation or really any kind of remedial action as it relates to a criminal legal justice system, to use Rebecca's terminology, it's all predicated on the idea that you have been charged or you're being investigated or something else, right? I don't know if a pardon would be effective prospectively. Just because Mr. Trump has said this is what he's going to do, that's not tantamount to Bennie Thompson actually facing any charges yet. So that's really what concerns me the most, is the idea that, especially with this Supreme Court, Joe Biden could issue a pardon saying, you know, I am immunizing him from any kind of criminal liability for anything related to his congressional service and the investigation of January 6th. And the Supreme Court saying, kick rocks. We're not going to accept that. It wasn't ripe at the time. There was no pending investigation, no pending charge. And as such, the pardon is without constitutional value. I mean, it's a sad reality, but I would not put it past the right federal court and even the Supreme Court to make that determination. So that's what concerns me more than anything, is whether they will find a way to say this pardon doesn't actually have teeth.
So, you know what, here's what's interesting, Matt, two things that I'm thinking about. And that is that if the president puts it on record, that is something that can be used in a court filing, or that when it actually happens, that somehow that court filing, you know, will be attached to the record, or President Biden, somebody from a former administration, become a part of the brief in some way to say that we are supporting this. But you're right. It's not right, because when you pardon someone or when you commute someone's sentence, there's something already on the book that a conviction has taken place. That is a very, very good point. But I do see there's value in putting on record that this is someone that has served his community well, and of course, should be free in the community.
Candace, the only time we've seen it, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please, Rebecca.
I was going to say the only time we've seen this actually work was like on Scandal. We've only seen this happen.
Right.
Where you can have that preemptive pardon. Because Matt's right. Like, it gets us into some really gray and weird legal theory. It's kind of weird. I don't think there's precedence for something like that.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, there's not precedent for something like President-elect Donald Trump in terms of doing something like this. But Matt, what were you going to say in response?
Well, I was just going to say that what concerns me especially is the idea that, you know, I think the guardrails that we think used to be there, or that we used to think were there, and that is just people actually doing what has customarily been done in terms of honoring tradition and honoring, quote, the rule of law. We know that that has all gone by the wayside, right? Because now we're in this weird bizarro world where it's whatever we want it to be now at this time, if we want it to be that. Who cares what it was before? I'm telling you that to say, you would think that as a matter of course, if the sitting president pardoned someone, even preemptively, that you would honor that preemptive pardon. But we don't exist in that reality anymore. And unfortunately, I think that means that even if they do get him and Liz Cheney get a pardon, it's not impossible that the Trump Justice Department is arguing in front of the Supreme Court, or rather the Solicitor General arguing, saying, the president at the time did not, you know, the president didn't have the authority to give a preemptive pardon. Therefore, it shouldn't be honored now. I mean, that's concerning. And I don't mean to be like dystopian in my view, but frankly, that's where we're trending. And that's what concerns me, is that we don't have those guardrails anymore that we at least used to believe were there.
Here's a question I want to open up to the floor, and I'm going to start with you, Michael. What if President Biden pardons Trump himself? You know, would that be some type of currency when we talk about what might be expected of him when he goes into office?
Well, two things. Number one, if Biden pardons Trump, and I know Representative James Clyburn said he should, and I respect Representative James Clyburn and have defended him against some of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, but that's dumb as hell. No, he should not pardon Donald Trump. Donald Trump is incited the insurrection. Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government. He sent domestic terrorists to the U.S. Capitol to stop a bicameral session that's mandated by the U.S. Constitution so he could stay in power. And then he sat there for 187 minutes, as the January 6th Commission tells us. He sat there for 187 minutes at the White House and watched it and didn't do a damn thing. Hell no, he should not pardon Donald Trump. Okay, number one. Number two, and if he did, it's stupid. Now, if Gerald Ford had not have given a pardon to Richard Nixon, many presidential historians, many people who know a lot more about this than I think that would have been a deterrent to Donald Trump. Okay, Gerald Ford gave a pardon to Richard Nixon to heal for the betterment of the country, to heal the country. Sometimes you got to throw people's asses in jail, period. Okay, and Donald Trump is one of them. That's not going to heal anything. All that's going to do is tell the next wannabe dictator, oh, I can get away with this and I can do even more. Secondly, Representative Bennie Thompson is absolutely correct to try to accept a presidential pardon. Okay, now whether the Supreme Court wants to accept it or not, we'll deal with that later. But Bennie Thompson not only headed up the January 6th committee, but also he was part of a civil lawsuit against Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and some others involved in the January 6th insurrection, using the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, which came about during the Reconstruction era, which was designed to target Klans members and others who were attacking African-American elected officials, African-American voters, and white Republican elected officials in the South. Okay, that law is still on the books. So there's a lot of animosity that the traitor-in-chief, this wannabe dictator Donald Trump has against these people, including Bennie Thompson. So Bennie Thompson, I don't blame him for wanting to take a presidential pardon.
Sure. Listen, Rebecca, Matt has spoken. He has said, listen, legally, this could indeed happen. Everything is in place. Is there value in a quid pro quo like this, in Biden pardoning Trump, in an effort to try to save all the people who have been on the January 6th committee, any of the people who have been on a staff, and anybody related that could potentially go down?
The Supreme Court said the president can do whatever he or she wants. So if Trump wants to be pardoned, then pardon himself then. Because according to the Supreme Court, he might be able to do that.
That solves that.
This has nothing to do with Biden. Like, once again, I think this is where the public gets extremely frustrated with Democrats. Why? Why would you waste? Like, there are so many other people that ought to be pardoned. Why?
Mhm.
Why? I don't even understand why Clyburn would even go there. It does not make sense. There are other things to champion, and Trump ain't it.
Yeah, but you know, in your world, as you know, just politically speaking, we never know what's going on behind closed doors either. We know what we're getting in terms of sound bites of the media and what we think might be going on, but there might be something we just can't even see and don't even know, because it is strange that Clyburn would come forth and say that, because that makes no sense. As you said, the Supreme Court has spoken, and that he has just powers beyond our imagination, and he's going to take advantage of all of them.
You know, I will say there are some people in Washington who are scared. What happened? What does it look like in a second Trump administration where there are no guardrails? There is no sense of normalcy, especially with the potential head of DOJ having access to all those DOJ files. There are a lot of people in Washington in power who got a foul. So yeah, we're going to see some strange things and some strange bedfellows, and seeing some strange advocates of some very strange things in the next few weeks.
Matt, are you Camp Rebecca? It doesn't matter. Trump's going to do what he wants to do, because the highest court in the nation has already spoken on his behalf.
You know, I was trying to find something pithy to say, but I don't have anything pithy. All I'm going to say is Donald Trump is the kind of cat who's going to take that part and say, appreciate that, big homie. I'm going to do whatever I want anyway. It doesn't matter. And the problem is, I think it'll backfire on the Democrats. I think it'll make them look even weaker, because it'll make them look like they are capitulating to a man who is a stated, aspiring dictator. And I think it's a throwaway. I mean, if there's any value, any political value in it, really, I think it's just in, them using the presidential pardon. Frankly, I don't think it moves the needle. I think it moves the needle back. And frankly, that is really a lot of the pushback on Democrats right now. It's just this idea that we look weak and we're not playing this for keeps. I mean, Michael said it earlier. Republicans play for keeps. They play for power, and they don't care. They do whatever they want to do. So I say that to say, I don't think a pardon makes any sense. I think Rebecca's 100% right. And I also don't think it advances the Democrats' cause in any way. It just makes them look weak. It almost looks like we're giving, this Pyrrhic victory to a dictator who's going to take it anyway. So I don't see why we would ever do that. I don't think it makes any sense to do that. I think giving Bennie Thompson one in advance makes sense. But I do have the concerns I've already stated about legally how that might play out.
Right. All right. The final answer. Is it even right? That's something we have to look for, and certainly going to be finding out before January 20th whether or not that is even feasible. All right. Stay with us. We will be back after the break. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network.
All right. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can support the African History Network. $, the AHN show through Cash App and through PayPal as well, paypal.me/the AHN show. So we have our Cash App link here right on the homepage of our website, as well as PayPal. So that helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, etc. Pay some of the bills. Register for the fantastic online history course I teach on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, we do the sessions live, but all the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch this anytime. And even after the course is over with, you'll still have access to watch the class. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. It's a 12-week online history course. It just started up. Click right here to register. And you can do debit card or credit card or pay through PayPal. We have our class lesson plan right here as well. There are over 200 slides that we look at in the class, 80 to 100 articles, 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of the books. I'll show you excerpts of the book right on the screen. The video clips that we look at, etc. Interviews I've done with many of our scholars like Professor James Small, Professor Kaba Kamene, Anthony Browder, Runoko Rashidi, and more. Click right here to download the lesson plan, and you can we have a overview of the class right here as well. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, let's see here. So hopefully you all learned a lot today. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. It's not over till we win Wakanda forever, and we'll talk to you next time.